千里之行，始于足下. A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. As usual, we are now together once again to talk about the Tao Te Ching. Chapter 32 is a well-known chapter that talks about the rain of sweet dew. The rain of sweet dew is a way to talk about how good things can happen in life automatically by themselves without you trying to force the issue. How can we get to an enviable position like that? Well, Lao Tzu says we have to hold on to the Tao, and then everything will fall into place. Everybody in your life, all the situations that you encounter, everything falls into place. So to hold on to the Tao, we want to answer this question: what must we do to hold on to the Tao? So last time, the last couple of meetings, we went through all the details, but basically it all starts with Pu, which is the principle of simplicity and plainness in the Tao. To practice the principle of Pu, it is all about simplifying your life as well as your communication with other people. And to simplify your communication with others simply means that you are plain spoken, that you are direct and to the point and concise, that you don't waste a lot of verbiage expressing things that you have already expressed quite a few times. So that's what that is. And you also want to simplify your interactions with other people. And the best way to do that is by using honesty as the best policy. Think about what happens when there's deception in your interaction, in your relationship with other people. One lie leads to another. What people often do is that they need to cover up and make consistent the lies that they have told before. To sidestep all that complexity, the best thing to do is simply to practice that honesty and integrity to begin with. Second, we want to embrace the small. So notice all the awesome small things in life. We want to do all the little things that make a big difference. And we want to take all the small steps, sometimes baby steps, in the great journey. We have to take the small steps before we can learn to walk and run. So starting with the small, that's very important. Now this is just 1 and 2 out of a total of 5. So at the top of the page, you'll see that it's page 1. It's page 1 of 2. So to continue with the recap, let's also take a look at page 2 with the 3 items.
Here's a result from the web.
What must we do to hold on to the Tao? Well, number 3 is to focus on the essence rather than the label. So the Tao itself is nameless. Human beings have a tendency to make things more complicated by coming up with a lot of names. So the categorization and naming of things are the basis of human knowledge, but we can be blinded by the fact that the names are just labels. And at the end of the day, we still have to go back to the essence, to focus on the essence of what the labels are pointing to. So that is practice number 3 to hold on to the Tao, is to look beyond the label and discover the meaning or the essence. Number 4, develop awareness on when to stop. So here I have a couple of sub-bullets about a car needing not just the gas pedal to accelerate, but also the brakes to come to a stop. It is the same in life, especially when it comes to a contentious situation. When you are about to get into some sort of argument with someone else, developing the awareness of the Tao will inform you on when you should put a stop to it. Lastly, be like the ocean. As we talked about last time, this is actually a pretty huge topic, and there are multiple stories in the Tao tradition that address the ocean concept specifically. So for the ocean to be in position to receive from all the rivers of the world, that is another way to describe the rain of sweet dew. So think about the rain of sweet dew as water coming down from heaven, nourishing the land, and this happens automatically. So for the ocean, all the input from all the rivers of the world is like the rain of sweet dew. It is in position to receive them because it's lower than any of them. So that is, the person who wishes to benefit the most, the person who wishes to enjoy the highest level of spiritual power, authenticity, and benefits of the Tao should also be the most humble. So being lower is like the ocean. That's the metaphor for humility. That's what allows the ocean to receive from all the rivers. And the other aspect of the ocean, as we all know, is that the ocean is truly vast. This is symbolic of tolerance. The ocean is able to contain all, accommodate all. So we are tasked, we're asked, we're suggested and recommended to be just like the ocean in our daily lives, is to proceed with a lot of tolerance from different perspectives, different points of view, lower levels of knowledge or refinement. That should not be something that causes anguish, but instead should inspire compassion. So as I said, much more to talk about when it comes to the ocean, and that's actually part of our recap as well. The ocean itself further goes into 4 different points, and we've already talked about the first 2. The first one is humility. You are lower, humble, and therefore receive from all the rivers. And the note that you see there is to further emphasize that this is the rain of sweet dew that's talked about in 32. Point number 2 is the same point on being vast and tolerant, able to accommodate all. Point number 3 is that when you combine the first 2 together, you naturally know when to stop in a contentious situation. When you don't know when to stop, it is often because of ego-driven arrogance that keeps you going and devolving a discussion into a debate and then into an argument. It is also because that you don't know, you don't have the vastness of the ocean to accommodate different perspectives. You are not able to tolerate anything different from yourself, and therefore you continue on a destructive path in a contentious situation. So number 3 is the application of 1 + 2. Finally, the very last point is, apart from the first 3, it's about the imagery of all the rivers, all the water of the world returning to the Tao, and yet not increasing the ocean, not filling it up, not make it overflow. So returning to the Tao is just like that, just like water returning to the ocean. So the ocean is the true home for all the drops of water in the world. Eventually, they must all return to it. It is the same for us. The Tao is the true home for our spiritual selves. Eventually, we must all return to the Tao. Now, different people will have different terms to describe that, but remember, they're just labels. If you call it heaven, if you call it afterlife, if you call it perhaps oblivion, different labels to talk about the same thing, and that is what comes after. So that's the recap of 32. I think we are now ready to do the paraphrase for 32. As usual, our purpose is to demonstrate complete understanding by expressing the original meaning in that original ancient Chinese text with modern language, in our own words. So section 1 says the Tao eternally nameless, and then it goes on to talk about the simplicity, to talk about the significance of that. Then it talks about how if the sovereign can hold on to the Tao, all will follow by themselves, meaning all will fall into place. And then we get to the rain of sweet dew, very significant. So here's the paraphrase that I would like to offer to depict all of these different elements, hopefully without leaving anything out. Here's the paraphrase. The Tao is the eternal constant. It has always existed long before there were any humans to give it a name. Its characteristic of plainness and simplicity may not seem like much, but is actually second to none in making the greatest difference in life. When rulers hold on to this Tao, the people follow the wise leadership on their own. There is no need to force anything. The various aspects of the kingdom adjust themselves, and there is peace and prosperity for all. Similarly, when you hold on to the Tao, your world comes into harmony, and everything falls into place like a rain of sweet dew from heaven. You do not need to force anything. Good things happen on their own, bringing peace and prosperity into your life. You know, I think when paraphrased, the power of the original becomes more apparent. And looking at what Lao Tzu was trying to express, it makes sense that generation after generation of human beings would seek to study and understand the Tao. Now let's do the second half of 32 and render that into paraphrase as well. So what it says in the second half, it starts out with names, which is exactly what we were saying about names versus essence, labels versus meaning. Then we talk about knowing when to stop. And then we go into the final metaphor, which is about the rivers all flowing into the ocean. So let's do a paraphrase that will, again, hopefully capture all those elements, but understandable to a modern speaker of English. In the beginning of humanity, names were given to everything as we attempted to understand the world. In time, this proliferated into great complexity, leading to confusion. The sages observed this and realized that our attachments gave rise to negative consequences. They concluded that in all things, it will be more in accordance to the Tao to know when to stop. Indeed, this is one of the methods of Tao cultivation that we need to practice in life. The more we can do that, the more we become like the ocean, receiving abundantly from all the rivers of the world. So there you go. I think by paraphrasing, we definitely made the original easier to understand, easier to grasp in everyday life. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Let us travel safely. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.